Take darkness and light and a wall. Darkness is absolute darkness. There's not an element of light in it. But if you shine light into it, it immediately allows the light to illuminate this darkness. But then there's a wall that blocks the light. There's no way light will permeate the wall. Because the wall is meant to keep things out from the other side. And you're not penetrated with light. You can only penetrate it if you break it. Gashmiut per se is not opposed to Ruchnius. It doesn't blocking the Ruchnius. It is just not Ruchnius. And as we emphasize, the Rebbe makes clear that Sechel and moach, because moach is suited for Sechel, the Sechel is misyashev in the actual choimer hamoach. In other words, in moach, Sechel is not a premonition, is not a projection, but it's actually felt as a reality.
That's Das?
Sorry?
That's Das?
No. That allows for das. Islapshus ha-koiches in the Yegorim, in the Kelim. So we explained that there are different levels of Islapshus. When the koich is mislabish in a keli that is not primarily its keli, so then it's mislabish only functionally. When the Sechel is mislabish in the hand, it does not make the hand wise. It can guide the hand, not the hand, the koyach hand, to produce special forms. But the koyach hatnua in the hand, that fits into the hand perfectly. And similarly, the koyach hasechel in the brain. The brain is keliyoi, is a proper keli for the sechel. Just like the eye is a proper keli for koyach or the iyo. There's a great similarity. So there it is the etzem hakoyach at mislabish. It is not only its effect and its functional element. Yeah. We have in this few lines terms that reflect exactly what we are talking about all the time. I'm quoting directly. Ikir inyonei shal hasechel dineshama. The ikir of the sechel of the neshama. What do you mean the sechel and neshama? Sechel is akeach. But what does one understand in this keach? That's which the neshama can relate to. This is how you understand. This is what you understand in the sechel. Sechel is an expression of what the neshama is. Just like sechel and a human being. It is an expression of what the human being is. It's a much lower level. But sechel is a direct reflection of the of the chayas from which it emanates. Okay. So at the end of the parentheses, the parenthesis is very rich, but we went through it a couple of times already. Okay, 4 lines from the bottom on page Hey. The line starts with umnum. And we might as well, it's in the middle parenthesis, might as well start from there. Umnum. However, yet the truth is that ikroi shal haseichel ho'elekis, the nefesh ho'elekis, the principle, the ikroi, the core, the focus, and the pivot of the seichel ho'elekis, of nefesh ho'elekis, is lahaskil b'inyonei elokus, is to focus in and to conceptualize in the inyan of elokus. This is what we started saying in this parenthesis, that in truth, in many haskola gashmis, there's an inyan elokis. And in any inyan gashmi, there is of the neshama elokis. We discussed it, discussing this already for years. The principle is this, it is so clear. I have perhaps demonstrated slightly differently. We always say that with sight, you see the object and it's very real without coming in contact with it. Now think of it. A dover gashmi is exclusively what it's felt when you touch it. That's what Gashmi is. Gashmi does not have any other message than the fact I'm here b'Gashmius. This is why when the world was first created, it was dark, because darkness is the proper state for Gashmius. This is where you come to recognize Gashmius for what it is. A reality that you know because you touch it. Then there is light, and through light you see the Dover Gashmi. When you see the Dover Gashmi, you're not really relating to Dover Gashmi. You're projecting. It's an imaginary thing. You're projecting what the Gashmi is, because the Messias of the Gashmi consists in what it feels when you touch it. How then does it happen that sight actually relates you to the world, to the reality of the world. If the whole Indian, how you relate to that which you see is only through your own projection, like an imaginary level. Because you didn't really feel it, you didn't really prove it as its expression is. What's the expression? What's the answer? The answer is because you recognize in it a godly truth, and you know the truth of godliness independently. Therefore, you look into the Gashmi, you don't touch it, you don't feel it, but it's real. It's not an imaginary reality. It's real because it represents a godly force, a godly creation. In other words, if I may, if there were no possibility of anything to existing in your mind, in your Sechel, but for the fact that you are able to prove that it exists, then sight would not do anything. Sight would be just an imagination. But because you know much deeper than sight, you know in reality that there is a real existence, real presence. A presence that is beyond being created. It's a moach. Therefore, when you see, it only manifests. Oh, this is what the moach created. It's not something that exists on its own. This true is present. The moach created this. It's no problem. I can readily accept it and then relate to it. And it's completely real. It's not an imaginary presence at all. This is the pshat, that in every dover Gashmi there is an Ayin Eliki.
Rabbi, when people who relate to things only with touch and they see something, don't they relate to that also like how it would affect them? Like, isn't that like a way of touch instead of imagination?
I know what you're saying.
You're saying people who relate to things only with touch, when they see something, it's like imagination. But don't they relate to things that they see also in a way of touch? Isn't that?
Yeah, they project what it would feel like an animal.
Right.
So that's not sight.
That's imagination.
Yeah, that's not sight. That's projection. What it would feel like if you touch it. Okay.
There's no such thing. I mean, a human
I'm sorry?
But it's the human just he's lying to us. The human being, he can't relate to sight just like touch. I mean, he'll be lying to himself. He just does not aware of what he's relating to. I mean, every human being sees in a human way. I mean,
you see, the principle of Sechel in general, and as it is manifested on the Gashmiut level like sight, all inyonim ruchniyim are very easily denied. How difficult is it to deny that there is light? Close your eyes. The whole world went in that direction. Only that which will force me to recognize its Metzius, only that exists. Everything else is imaginary. It's true. If you don't have the motivation behind it, it's like a true. All right, so 4 lines from the bottom, at the end of the parenthesis, the end of the line. Gam zeh, however, this inyan, what we just finished saying, that the iker inyan of the haskola of Sechel, of the nefesh elikis, is to be maskil in yonim elikiyim, elokus, even while the neshama is mislabesh in the guf. This inyan is lehaskil yonim elokus. Gam zeh, this too, even the inyan, the fact that its principle has called elikis, hu alidei yonim gashmi. That once the neshama is mislabesh in the guf, and mislabesh, as we said, in the choymer hamoyach, this is slapshes in choymer hamoyach. This defines reality to the person. The moach is who tells who tells the person what there is and that there is anything. Therefore,
sorry, I'm not sure if I'm getting this. Defines reality to the person. Name, what's this here?
The moach. That which is sensing the moach. This is providing the human being with the knowledge of this reality.
In contrast to Sechel at this point. So
This is Sechel.
it is
I thought he has that to begin with, the union of Hadah that we usually
What?
I thought he has that even before you talked about the union of Hadah, which is
Hadah is the basis for that. The Hadah is that which, like I said, the motivation. That's Hadah. That's not Slavish in the Moach. This is pride. This is what abstention. That which Slavish in the Moach, that makes it real. But he doesn't know the Gashmiut. He says there could be such a thing, and then when he sees it, oh, here it is.
Wait, the moach contributes that?
The moach is the keli for this. So therefore, the iken inyan for hasechel oleki is lahaskin yon elkus. Agam zeh, even though this is the principal sechel of oleki, of the nefesh oleki, this too, hu alidei inyonim gashmiyim, it is only through gashmizike inyonim, gashmizike orientation. Because we are talking about the nefesh being in the guf, and the seichel being in the moach, and moach is gashmi. The mashe on yoidim belokus, for that which we know in elokus, we means us in the world, hu alidei ho inyonim hagashmi. It is via the inyonim gashmi. Because the Yonim Gashmiim, these are the entities that are real to us as the Sechel is Mislabish in the Moach. Shemehem only mivinim belokus. From these in Yonim Gashmiim, we get to understand into elokus. Again, how the Yonu Gashmim get you to understand the Yonu Elokus? Is that by projection? Is that by some kind of inferences? Not so. It is, as I explained to you, that yes, it is to the Yom Gashmi. But what do we recognize in the Yom Gashmi? The Gashmi made themselves. They are the substance. They substantiate themselves. They exist because they exist. Not at all so. Gashmi is a Gashmi. But Gashmi was made by the Koyach Eliki. By Motsurisha. In other words, even though it's a Dova Gashmi, this is where the big transition is. Where you're used to thinking Gashmi as something that is completely self-substantiating, self-made. This is what Sechel comes in and says, not so. It's entirely anonymous, and it does not respond to anything, despite the fact that it doesn't respond to anything. Its reality speaks for its creator. This is the big boundary that we have to break through. In the world has convinced itself that everything in the world made itself. If, God forbid, you accept that, then indeed there is nothing, no ruchnius in the world. But there's no way to know in Gashmi, you should know Elokus. Then if you want to project Elokus, you can only project, you can only imagine. But really to see and recognize Elokus through Gashmi is impossible. The Gashmi, by its very presence, denies Elokus. So we are saying, please focus in and see. Gashmis does not deny Elokus. Gashmis conceals Elokus. But it conceals the Eliki element within itself and says, yes, there is something deeper in me than what you meets the eye. Like the classic question that we asked some time ago. If Gashmi was self-made, as the world and the scientists maintain, how come it's indestructible? They also say you can't destroy a Gashmi. It can change its form, but you cannot destroy. Why? It has a very limited basis for being. Its own force. Why can't you eliminate that force? It's analogous to you coming to somebody's house, and he has a dining room table. And you know that this dining room table is not there just for momentary now. If this dining room table should break, it will be replaced by another table. Because the table didn't make itself. It represents the human being who lives there. And therefore it is, so to speak, allegorically unbreakable, indestructible. This is what the Gashmiut represents. This is the pshat. El Yori Gashmim actually represent an Yonaliki. And this is how, through Yom Gashmim, we get to understand the Lakus. So we understand the Lakus through the Yom Gashmim, because at our level, because the Neshama is mislabish in the goof, and we know everything through the limits that the goof imposes upon it. And therefore, 2 lines from the bottom, and therefore, Gam ha-hasoga ho-elekis, even the hasoga elekis, when one comprehends, has some kind of projection of an insight eleki, he ba b'hagshama. It expresses itself by hagshama in a very coarse manner. What's hagshama? Just one word. You immediately relate to it, to a function, what its effect is. Alakus is not functional. Masurishan. It's not functional, it's a reality itself. But we know it at the functional level because it's Baba Haksham. The Rebbe, Friedrich Rebbe, when he came to America, he spoke about American mentality. It's typical of America that you refer to a person, how much is he worth? So a person is evaluated by the amount of money that he has. How much is he worth? It's an anomaly. It's
It's an Americanism. They don't say that in Europe, anywhere else.
No, how much is he worth was not in European. No.
American.
An American expression.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right, this is it for this morning, I think. To go down. Oh yeah.
Thank you, Paltiel. Good morning, everyone.
All to heaven.